Good evening. We begin with major breaking news. A mass shooting at a mosque in Quebec City late tonight. Details are just coming in. Now, according to the mosque leader, 5 people were killed and witnesses say up to 3 gunmen stormed the building. Ambulances raced to the scene and police have confirmed a shooting took place with fatalities. Victims were seen here on cell phone video being carried away on stretchers. Reportedly up to 11 victims in all, including the wounded. Witnesses say the gunman opened fire during evening prayers. The shooting happened at the same Islamic center where in June a pig's head was left at the doorstep. Now, CTV's Quebec Bureau Chief Geneviève Beauchemin joins us now from Montreal. So, Geneviève, what are police saying at this point?
Well, they did just hold a news conference to update the media about the situation. They're not releasing very much information, but they do say that they have arrested at this time 2 suspects, one of them reportedly near the mosque, another one at a bridge nearby in Quebec City. Those 2 are in custody, and police were asked about a possible 3rd suspect, and at this point they say they are still looking. They still haven't ruled out that there could be a 3rd person involved, and so their investigation is still very much ongoing. They haven't provided a lot of information as to exactly how it unfolded, how the events happened, where the gunmen were, what kind of arms they were carrying. There have been reports that they had AK-47s that they would not confirm. There's also a lot of information, they say, at this point that will be gathered from the scene. And of course, people from that Centre Culturel Islamique de Sainte-Foy are saying that there's a lot of surveillance cameras inside the building. You talked about that pig's head that was left on the doorstep just in June. There have been threats to that mosque, and so they do have those surveillance cameras. And police, of course, will be looking at that very closely to see exactly how many gunmen were involved, exactly how things unfolded. So as I say, at this point, not a lot of more information. A lot of people there that evening. It's Sunday night prayers, and we're told that about 60 to 100 people usually gather there for those evening prayers. And so a lot of them tonight panicked and just frightened at the situation.
Right. Now, I know you're gathering a lot of information as this story unfolds. We're going to let you go because I know you're going to make your way to Quebec City. Okay, Geneviève, thanks so much. CTV's Geneviève Beauchemin. Now, it's not known if tonight's shooting is connected to the new immigration rules banning millions of Muslims from entering the U.S., but the international response has been extraordinary. The chaotic rollout of Donald Trump's executive order instantly tore families apart and left countless travelers stranded at American airports, detained on arrival. Now, those airports were the targets of massive protests in at least 30 American cities today. The huge crowds waving signs of support for refugees and chanting, "Let them in," as the U.S. president, watching from the Oval Office, defended his controversial ban. And with thousands of Canadians affected, Ottawa clarified the rules today as Parliament prepares for an emergency debate tomorrow. This story is also unfolding on several fronts, and we have a lot to cover tonight, starting with CTV's Washington Bureau Chief, Joy Malvin.
No hate, no fear. Refugees are welcome here.
Their voices growing louder on city streets and at airports across the United States.
This can't be happening in the United States of America. It's a free country, free for all.
And listen as they march past the Canadian Embassy in Washington.
Hey, hey, ho, ho. I wish our leader was Trudeau.
Americans pushing back against their own president and that executive order banning people from 7 Muslim-majority countries.
This executive order was mean-spirited and un-American.
Choking back tears, this Democratic senator calls it America's moment of shame. Heartbreaking scenes at airports where grandmothers and children were detained for hours, families in despair. Like this Syrian man in Turkey told he can no longer join his wife and son in L.A.
I showed them my visa, I showed them everything. He said no. So I don't know what to do right now.
Donald Trump, a big watcher of the news, defended his action in a statement saying this is not a Muslim ban, as the media is falsely reporting. This is about terror and keeping our country safe. Adding to the enormous confusion, the White House had to clarify those with green cards won't be denied entry, but could still face extra screening.
If they're folks that shouldn't be in this country, they're going to be detained. And so apologize for nothing here.
No apologies, but a growing number of Republicans are uneasy, saying this doesn't make America any safer.
I think the effect will probably in some areas, give ISIS some more propaganda.
Many Americans marching today are horrified.
I'm just so sad and upset and angry, and I wanted to show that Americans are so much better than this.
The ban is being called unconstitutional, even immoral, and it faces plenty of legal challenges, even as the White House is talking about adding more countries to the president's order. Sandy.
Joy, thank you for this. And as Joy mentioned, the outrage over Donald Trump's executive order is spreading around the world tonight. Iran's parliamentary speaker called Trump a demagogue and his immigration policy racist. The country has already banned American visitors in retaliation. Sudan formally objected today, summoning the U.S. ambassador and calling its inclusion on the list unjust. A strong message from Israeli protesters at the U.S. Embassy in Tel Aviv.
We won't stand for policies that incite hate and don't give basic rights to people that are fleeing to us for better lives.
And a British petition to prevent Donald Trump from making a state visit will now be debated in Parliament, which must consider any petition with 100,000 signatures. Now, this one has received close to 1 million. There's also a lot of concern here in Canada, where tens of thousands of people are now temporarily banned from entering the U.S. Today, the immigration minister said his department worked through the night talking to senior White House officials, trying to sort out how the new rules apply to Canada. CTV's John Vanavalley-Rao has that story.
Amid sky-high confusion, Canadian officials today took a shot at clarifying the messy situation at the border, suggesting travel to the U.S. is still open to most, though offering simple advice for dual citizens from the targeted countries.
We encourage you to travel with your Canadian passport.
The immigration minister saying officials in Washington have confirmed those originally from these 7 countries can indeed enter the States if they have a Canadian passport, including dual citizens and those holding a valid Canadian permanent resident card. Adding anyone else left stranded by the ban will be offered temporary residence in Canada.
As of 1 p.m. this afternoon, we are not aware of any stranded travelers in Canadian airports.
The update, though, comes after some were turned around on Saturday.
So I decided to speak out.
Including Shima Tarani. Her husband just started a dream job in California, and she was on her way to see him. But born in Iran, Shima was denied boarding at the airport.
He just said sorry, and he said the visa is cancelled.
Shima is a permanent Canadian resident, but until this afternoon was uncertain if she would get to visit her husband, who's also worried about his status.
We are labeled as terrorists. It is heartbreaking.
I really wanted to go and see Alcatraz prison.
In Winnipeg, another couple from Iran, students here on visa, had plans for a vacation to the U.S. next month. They've already spent $5,000 and now they can't go.
It's very sad.
And despite the assurances that Canadian passport holders are okay, immigration lawyers warn the rules could always change again.
Enter the U.S. at your own peril, and I think that should be the travel advisory for Muslim Canadians.
As for the Prime Minister, he's been getting a lot of praise globally for his tweet welcoming refugees. And today, many ordinary Canadians and several city mayors had a similar message of support. Meanwhile, protests are being planned for tomorrow outside the U.S. Embassy in Ottawa and here in Toronto outside the U.S. Consulate. Sandy?
John, thank you. Now